So we thought we would talk about our favorite games, movies, and TV shows during this quarantine time. Isn't that right, Jackie?
Oh, yes.
I actually did a poll on Facebook, and you guys actually chose this category. I had another category that I wanted to do. Is cinema dead? Are movie theaters going out of business? But nope, you guys chose this one.
Well, I'm excited to let everyone know what we've been watching for the last few months.
I think we should state right up front that these are just some of our recommendations. Also, these are not in any order from worst to best or best to worst. This is just some of the things that we've been watching lately. So if your favorite movie, game, or TV show isn't on this list, don't worry, those are still good. Also, I know that I'm gonna forget a lot of my favorite stuff, so don't worry about it. Well, anyways, without further ado, let's get to the list. First up in the movies category, we have Onward.
Onward was really cute. I loved all the Dungeons and Dragons metaphors. I also think that Disney had a great idea of moving Onward onto the streaming service after the theaters closed down.
Yeah, it was in theaters briefly, and I'm really glad that they did move it to the streaming service after not too long. Something I was going to talk about in the Are Theaters Dead category, because I think they are. If there's one good thing that has come out of this quarantine, it's that people want movies on demand right away. And yet, Disney, the same company that did this good thing with Onward, has delayed Black Widow until the end of the year so it can have a theatrical release. So I'm getting mixed messages, but hopefully they'll figure out that streaming is the way to go.
I think movie companies are still clinging onto the idea that they need to get those box office numbers, and I think that's just what they're holding off for.
Yeah, but that's not the topic that you guys chose, so can't talk about that right now. Alright, so our first game is the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, we've already done an entire review on this game, a 30-minute review, so we're not going to get into it too much. Just know that it's a lot of fun, and whether you're a Final Fantasy fan or not, this is a great game to play. It's got one of the best battle systems ever in a Final Fantasy game. You can fight me on that. It takes, in my opinion, the best part of Final Fantasy VII and expands it in a really cool way. And yeah, that's about it. You could play Final Fantasy VII Remake or the original or any Final Fantasy game. I don't care.
The original Final Fantasy VII was released in just an awful time for graphics of video games, and it suffered the consequences. It had a great story, but sometimes it was just really hard to get past those really crunchy graphics. And seeing this new remake in beautiful, beautiful quality is phenomenal.
Yeah, the mid-90s early 3D graphics was not kind to video games, and they have definitely not held up.
Final Fantasy VIII also really needs that upgrade.
But it won't get it because people don't like it. Alright, so our first TV show is Tiger King. Now, this is not really a TV show, it's more of a mini-series, and even on that note, it's a mini-series documentary. But the point is, Tiger King. It's something you can watch on Netflix.
Oh my goodness, what a wild ride was Tiger King.
Now, you can get a laugh out of Tiger King because there's a lot of what I would call dark humor in it, but it also can make you kind of depressing because you are watching horrible people do horrible things to each other.
You kind of have to just take a seat back for a moment and realize that these are not characters these people are playing. These are real human beings in this world that we live in. Ugh, my goodness.
Now, Tiger King is so popular that it kind of has made people sided on the issues within the documentary. There are some people that have sided with Joe Exotic. I know Cardi B has started a petition to get him out of jail. And there are some people that have sided with Carol Baskin of Big Cat Rescue that thinks that she was in the right. And then, of course, there are those that think she murdered her husband and fed him to the tigers and all that. I think everybody in here is a terrible person. I think that they are all just terrible. But man, what an entertaining watch. Next up, we got Animal Crossing New Horizons, and Jackie has a lot to say about that.
Oh my gosh, do I. I have played it every single day since it released. Then again, I am a huge fan of Animal Crossing, and I did that with New Leaf, and I did that with all of them. They just know exactly how to make you want to come back every day to play that game. Good job, Nintendo.
Yeah, we also have a whole review on that game as well, so we won't deep dive into it so much, but it is a lot of fun. If you like Animal Crossing, or if you like Nintendo games in general, it's a lot of fun. Alright, next up for TV shows, we got The Mandalorian on Disney+.
Gosh, that baby Yoda is so cute.
I think The Mandalorian does an excellent job of making it feel like classic Star Wars, especially since this show takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi. It really feels like that. You feel like the war has ended, but there's all these smaller smuggler groups. You get to see little factions. You get to see tribes and towns and villages. It just opens up the world of Star Wars in ways that we've already known through comics and novels, but if you're not a super fan and you don't read comics and novels, then, well, this might be your first time exploring the bigger world of Star Wars, which is really cool. Not to mention how cool the underground Mandalorians are and how this is the way. If you haven't checked it out yet, go check it out. Really good. Of course, we can't talk about recent game releases without talking about Resident Evil 3, the remake. Resident Evil Nemesis on the original PlayStation was always one of my favorite Resident Evil games. It was something about the tone. It added a lot more action to the series, but still felt very survival horror. And it just has always had a large place in my heart when it comes to video games. I love running away from Nemesis, and I just love the variety of things to do in it. Now, having said that, in this remake, they've changed it up quite a bit. At first, I wasn't a big fan that they got rid of the life choices that changed the plot in certain ways. Like, those weren't huge decision makers in the original, and they didn't change the game that much, but it still kind of gave some life to replay value. However, in this one, they've added different things for the replay value. There's new prizes to get from points you earn in the game and so on, and I think that it's really good. Now, I know some people are upset that they've taken some things out of the game, like the park and most of the clock tower, well, pretty much all the clock tower, but there's a lot that's been added as well. It is still a short game. The original was also a very short game, but I think there's enough new material and character development and emotion in a similar way to the Final Fantasy VII remake that makes this a complete game on its own. For example, Jill and Carlos's relationship is just built better and is much more realistic in every way. Nemesis, still scary, and his evolutions are a little bit cooler and make a little bit more sense in my opinion in this one.
Now, I never played the originals, but I think this was a lot of fun.
The one thing I wish they would add is the Mercenaries mode, and if you played the original, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You give me that, and we're sound as a pound. Great game, though. Next up, let's mention the Castlevania show on Netflix, because wow, 3 seasons in, and it is still fantastic.
I have a few gripes about it, but it was very entertaining to watch. I think they were being a little bit gory for the heck of it. I don't mind gore, but I don't know, it just felt very in your face. For certain people, that might not necessarily be a bad thing. And of course, it's not for me, but I just felt like it was just trying a little bit too much. Still a very entertaining show, though.
The first 2 seasons are pretty faithful to Castlevania 3, and then the show eventually moves into lore from the other games and kind of weave it into an interquel of sorts. They're going to eventually get to some of the other games, but right now it's just really interesting and really cool, and I really like it.
There weren't enough bats and floating candlesticks, though.
Alright, now we can't talk about staying at home and doing nothing but playing video games and watching movies without talking about Pokemon.
Pokemon Sword and Shield is still really relevant because of the raid mechanic. Nintendo is releasing Gigantamax forms of Pokemon that you can catch in those raids, and certain Pokemon are more frequent at certain times. So there's still a lot of relevancy, as well as the DLC that is coming to the game, I think in June.
Yeah, but of course it doesn't have to be relevant for you to play it at home. And if you don't have Sword and Shield, just play any Pokemon you have if you like Pokemon. But if you like Pokemon, you probably have Sword and Shield. Alright, next up, let's talk about Dracula on Netflix. I know we already talked about Castlevania on Netflix, and that would sound very similar, but these two shows couldn't be more different. I mean, they both are dark horror series, but Castlevania is a little bit more of the fantastic and also based on the video game, whereas Dracula is based on the Bram Stoker novel Dracula. Well, at least it starts out that way, and then I don't want to spoil it because it's actually really creative and cool the way that they did it, but I will say that it diverges a bit from the source material. If you're familiar with the book, or at least like the movies of Dracula, well, most of those aren't very close to the book either, but if you're familiar with the story, it diverges pretty much immediately and gets really cool and just is an excellent 3 episodes of Dracula on Netflix. I liked it a lot.
I liked the first 2 episodes, and then the 3rd episode was weird.
Yeah, that's all we're gonna say about it. Again, spoilers. Alright, another game I want to talk about is Super Mario Maker 2. What better time suck than just creating your own Mario levels and then sending those to your friends? Or having your friends send you Mario levels to enjoy or to torture you, depending on how you feel about it.
They also just released an update for the game to add overworlds.
Oh yeah, so now you can pretty much make your own Mario game with overworlds and levels. The only thing you can't add is voices, text bubbles, or story. So not really making your own Mario game, but getting closer. Either way, the game's a lot of fun if you have Mario Maker, and if you don't have Mario Maker, just play any Mario game ever because Mario's great. Alright, now moving on to our special mentions, and again guys, I know we can't name every movie, TV show, and game ever made, because there's just not enough time in the world for that, and again, these don't represent like our favorite games of all time or anything. There's just ones we want to mention that we thought would be fun during quarantine, so please don't yell at me in the comments. But anyways, special mentions. I would like to mention that a good game to play at any time would be Chrono Trigger. Whether you play it on Steam, your phone, if you actually have a Super Nintendo, whatever, play Chrono Trigger. I still wholeheartedly believe it is the best video game ever made. But you don't have to trust me, you can not trust me, and you could not like it, or whatever. Do whatever you want.
A series that I have not played yet but really would like to play, Ori and the Blind Forest and all of its sequels.
Now, what makes you interested in that game?
It just looks like a real right up Jax's alley game.
Just cute little characters and such?
Oh yeah. Yeah, just the atmosphere, the animals. It's definitely something that I want to play.
Also, if you like Monster Hunter, the Iceborne DLC came out recently, at least came out recently for Steam. But whether you're a fan of the series or not, now's a great time to get into Monster Hunter. You can put tons of hours into that game. I've personally put like 200 hours into Monster Hunter, and Iceborne adds like so much more content.
Certain movies that I would also like to see is the Sonic movie. I didn't have a whole lot of time to go see it in theaters, and now that they've released it on demand, I'm really excited. I feel like it's a very nice, easily accessible way to watch it.
Yeah, we haven't seen it, but literally every person that we know that has seen it has said it's great, so we want to see the Sonic movie. I just keep forgetting about it, but we'll get to it eventually. I also want to give a special mention to binging anything. Literally binge anything you want. Anything that sounds good to you, anything you've seen already, anything that you've watched a trailer for that you looked at and said, hey, I might watch that on a rainy day. Well, consider this quarantine an entire 2, 3, however long many months of a rainy day, because you're stuck at home. Just binge it. I know that you want to catch up on years of Modern Family or finally get around to Ozark. It's whatever. Just binge anything. Never seen The Sopranos? Binge it now.
Something that I have been watching and we didn't put on the list because I'm watching it myself and it's a bit of an older show, at least the seasons that I've been watching that are accessible on Hulu, is RuPaul's Drag Race. I've been watching seasons 1 through 6, just catching up on that because I haven't seen any of those. I've been having a whole lot of fun with that.
This ain't RuPaul's Best Friend Race. Well, guys, what did you think of our list? You probably hated it because I'm sure you guys at home are screaming at us like, oh, you forgot to mention this and this and this. We just wanted to give some suggestions, just a few little fun bits to get you through this quarantine.
I don't know, maybe they liked it.
Or maybe you love this video. I don't know.
Maybe it's their new favorite Rich Alvarez video.
I highly doubt that, but if that, you know what? Power to you if that's the case.
Step aside, stupid Mario Brothers. We got Rich and Jack's quarantine list on the way.
Alright guys, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to Rich Alvarez channel, find us on Facebook, link in the description, and take a look at our Patreon, link is also in the description. We are streaming video games all the time on Facebook these days, so come along and join us. Alright guys, bye-bye.
Bye!